How's it going? It's Joe. Welcome to the channel. Today's going to be another 5v5 Grand Arena, and I am quite lucky and happy to be here in the finals, as I've had two formidable opponents prior to this, and now we're going to be going against Timothy. So having a look at the overview, he's got 700k more GP, and in the top 80 he's actually got 100k edge. Looking at the relics, we're pretty matched up in the tier 7, although he hasn't got any tier 6. I outrank him by about 3000, and he has the edge in the lifetime banners. Now he has 2 more rounds than I have, and in terms of mods I get just a little slight edge, as I've got 3 more speed mods than he does, although he has 50 more offensive mods. So let's take a quick look at his roster here, as I believe this gentleman has both Galactic Legends with Ultimate and Luke Skywalker as well. So having a look at his stats here, he's got 374 successful battle defense, and that means he's got quite a robust roster. He's also hit Kaiba before, and he's got about 5,000 in rank. So looking at his roster here, he's got Supreme Leader Kylo and Rey, he's got Luke, and pretty much very efficient in terms of his relics. Now looking at the bottom walls here, he's got a Rey with Barriss Offee and L3. And after much deliberation, I decided to reuse this counter that I've used against this Rey, as if you take note of this particular lineup, he designed this so you're going to have a very difficult time utilizing Darth Vader against it, as he's got a Barriss Offee in here as well as an L3. So we're going to be doing the exact same strategy we've done before, which is pass as many turns as we can to gas. And that way we're going to reduce Rey's max health. Now bearing in mind, this particular Rey is actually modded very optimally and very high in health. So this Rey's health is close to 240k. And it took us a while to get her to this point where she's got the damage immunity, and she was able to get the Whirlwind to proc. I'm able to dispel L3 there, and I'm able to stun Barriss. However, having a look at this Rey, she's actually going to be getting to her ultimate fairly shortly, but Gas says no. There's no way you're going to get the high ground this time. And at this point, we're looking pretty good. 3 for 3 for this particular Rey counter. And I believe when she did do that Whirlwind that she was able to proc Savior. And although we're cutting through a lot of our Jedi to utilize this team, I believe that it's definitely still well worth it to be using this team against Rey. And I definitely would not have risked using Darth Vader against this, as that Barriss Offee is actually Relic 3, so she's pretty decently tanky, and she's got the Zeta, which means she's going to be taking off debuffs after every turn she's taken. And this Rey has some decent tenacity as well, so it's going to be quite troublesome sticking those dots and debuffs. Now I don't currently have Luke, so I'm working towards Jedi Knight Luke, which hopefully does come around fairly shortly, as a lot of my opponents that do have Luke, I feel, have an edge. However, I am quite happy that I'm still able to utilize gas for this particular situation. And just waiting on this L3 to lose that damage immunity. For the 60 banners. So I feel like this particular counter that I'm using works especially well if the Rey team doesn't have a ton of damage dealers on their side. And looking at the next opponent on the bottom wall, we've got a Finn-led resistance squad here as well. So it was quite troublesome as they're doing a ton of damage, and it looks like both Anakin and Padme no longer have any of their protection. And we're going to go straight for Resistance Hero Finn here. Got 11 stacks of courage, so we utilized that special ability. And as soon as we can get this taunt off of Finn, we are going to go for Poe. And we almost lose GK here, as the vets are doing a ton of work. Now, I didn't want to drop either of the vets too quickly, as I'm going to give them an extra turn. So I used my AoE here. He does take an extra turn, however, he uses it on Ahsoka. And not ideal in terms of banners. However, I'm still quite happy with that result, as it looks like my opponent has actually finished his attack phase. And we are going to recap his score at the end of this video, so I hope you guys stick around for that. Now, he set a pretty decently heavy defense, so I've had to use my Night Sisters against this Grievous lineup, which is a bit risky as he does have Newt Gunray here. Just decided to use the AoE here and get the plague stacks out. And now we've got a force mark on B2 Super Battle Droid. So we're going to try to heal up with Asajj's second ability. And we lose her there. We're going to do our assist attack here. We've got a force mark on Magna Guard. And it looks like our Daka is getting pretty low. We're able to drop B2, so we're actually able to revive for a second there. And this is the pivotal moment here, as I believe what I should have done here is I used my basic on Grievous as opposed to dropping Newt. And that was where the misplay had occurred. And I got the stun there and the assist ability and all the plague stacks proc for 50 banners. So if I had been able to take a turn on Daka there, I believe I probably still could have gotten the 55 banners. Now this is a quite an old counter that I really like going against Padme, where I utilize Traya, Nihilus, and Scion, and I add in Bastila Shan and Thrawn. I'm going to place Fear on the opposing team here, and I'm going to fracture GK as soon as I possibly can. I'm going to wait for Traya to take a turn, and I'm going to isolate Padme. And I'm going to pass that isolate to Nihilus. And really now our goal is to try and get Nihilus to his Annihilate and use that on Jedi Knight Anakin. And at this point, I'm just trying to apply ability block as often as I can to this opposing team. So the ability block on Anakin. I'm going to pass this turn to Nihilus and get the Annihilate down. I really like this counter for the reason of control, as this counter can work on Grievous as well. However, I typically use Palpatine in the leadership slot as opposed to Traya, and Scion can be traded off for IPD in that instance as well. So we're going to keep isolating Padme here, as we've still got Fracture on GK. We get an Annihilate on Padme, and now it's really about just getting a little bit more protection back on Scion. And that way we get the best amount of banners possible. So we're going to pass this turn meter onto Scion, and that way we get a little bit of that protection back. We're going to use this Isolate on GK and pass that onto Scion yet again. Get an ability block on GK, and now we're going to go for 3PO. It looks like we're getting close to the 60 banner mark, so should be okay to drop GK at this point. And I did save one Galactic Legend on offense, and at this point I did save Rey. And I still had my G12 Barriss Offie. This particular Darth Revan is a decent amount of speed. So really the goal here is try and keep everyone healthy. Before Rey goes into her sudden whirlwind. So we get a sudden whirlwind there to get Malak out of the way. We've got shock applied on our team here. We're able to drop HK, and the damage immunity procs on Rey. So we're going to use that ultimate ability. And we get a heal here on Barriss. So in the back walls we've got a Bugs team as well as Mon Mothma. And we did still save this particular team here. Mostly Empire with Wat Tambor. And I've learned not to undersize this particular Bug squad, as it can really throw you off at times. So I used Force Crush to begin with, as the leadership on Palpatine allows for Vader to gain a ton of turn meter as the debuffs expire. So make quick work of Spy there. Apply more debuffs and remove turn meter on Tarkin. Applied Bactoid Shield onto Short Trooper. Use Force Crush here again and Merciless. Although we only had 2 debuffs on Geobrood Alpha here at this point. So we're going to use Force Crush yet again. And we drop Brood Alpha. So 55 banners. And I actually run out of rebels here at this point, as I utilized R2 on defense and 3PO for that Padme team. So now I'm thinking about what stops revives from happening, and Nest came to mind as the opposing team takes a ton of turns, and Django, as his second ability doesn't allow for revives. We're gonna stun Captain Han Solo and try and quickly get rid of him as soon as we possibly can. Remove turn meter on Rolo here. And we're gonna be able to drop Captain Han Solo here, so there's no revives for him at this stage. So Mon Mothma tries to revive there, however, we were quite successful in our second ability with Django. And this particular ship battle was quite interesting as well. However, it played out a similar way to the usual Negotiator versus Malevolence battles. However, I was unlucky at this point where I actually lost the Houndstooth fairly early due to mass assists from the Vulture droids, and eventually I also lost Anakin's ship. And as you can see here in the 2-minute 30 mark, I lose Ahsoka's ship before I was able to throw out my bombers, and the Malevolence was even able to use the EMP before I dropped the Spy here. So very minimal in terms of banners. So this is our final score here, 1904 to 1814. And having a quick recap on my defense that I placed here. In the front walls, I did place Kylo Ren with Darth Revan. In the back is Supreme Leader Kylo, which held for 1 battle, and a Bosk lead. In the top was where it got interesting, as my Grievous held once as well as my Boba lead here, which is probably the most interesting defense that I've set in a while. That Boba leadership is very underrated, as it actually provides a ton of crit chance and crit damage, and it doesn't apply to just bounty hunters, so it's a pretty useful leadership to have. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you liked the content today. Please leave a like and comment, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.